kind of political borders that were there. And mind you, Hastinapur is still there. So even if Mahabharata happened after Ramayana, Hastinapur existed as a kingdom back then. And Kishkinda, just keep that right. Kishkinda, where Sugriv, Hanuman and all hailed from, it is kind of split between currently Andhra Pradesh and Karnataka. So maybe it was started from Hampi. This is complicated, I cannot explain it even in 1 hour. I myself have not understood correctly, so please bear with me. Yeah, so this is the title is why do we learn this in the 21st century? Why do we want to learn an epic so old in the 21st century? So this is a DNA mapping, 60,000, they have reached till 60,000, they are going back. How humans traveled across the globe 60,000 years ago. So you can see still, where is our country? I am trying to search it. Yeah, here. So most of the migrations have happened from India. It is not something I am claiming on this stage. It is proven by the DNA analysis, and you can find all this data online. So it's not something I'm making up. Yeah, and then this is, since we are in Sweden, we are in Europe. Let's have a look how Europe looked some 12,000 years ago. So the dates are there, but the central side is what we should pay attention to. So the later channel that is written there and the upper part, that is UK and Ireland. So they were connected to the mainland. The Baltic Sea did not exist. It was a kind of a lake. So this is how Europe was, and then it gradually got separated. So this is the geography from 16,000 BC. Yeah. And then this is something I'm going to Gyan Dena Jisko Bolte hain, that I will. Some of you might have already realized it. Some may not have. Our kids are growing up here, and we were born and brought up in India, so we have this kind of a spiritual background, and we have come here, we attend pujas and all. But once our kids start growing up, at least I'm not hopeful that they will kind of tolerate these kind of programs. So we need to teach them in a perspective such a way that they themselves feel the need to learn about Ramayana, to learn about Mahabharata, and that's why. So you can read the rest of the stuff. And the last part is also actually important. Technology is invasive. So if you or your kids are spending a lot of time on smartphone, you can actually use it to your advantage to teach kids about Indian epics. How? That we can look later. And this is some random glossary terms are picked. There is no particular order, but it is important because when we hear some words, we should understand the meaning as well. So the first is mythology. That is one of my primary objectives of this PPT. Mythology is collection of myths. And none of the Indian epics are myths, they are absolutely proven historical events, and that's why my presentation is also named as historical perspective. So if anyone asks you, that's Indian mythology, you can straight away say, okay sir, please move ahead. Ramayan, Ram plus Ayan. So what Ramayan is? Ram's journey. Like we have Dakshinayan, Uttarayan, that's the sun's journey across the hemisphere. Ramayan is Ram's journey. And then we just had Ram Raksha, right? Dhayada Janubahu. So and then Ajanubahu is the main word here. So that's, if a normal person stands, his hands come to his knees. Ajanubahu, the person, his hands reach all the way to his knees. Mine are only till my thighs. So that person is good at wielding swords with archery because they have long hands, they have long fingers. They can also drive and ride horses properly. So Ajanubahu people are generally known to be good warriors and mass leaders. That is also a fact. Another example is Shivaji Maharaj, Shri Krishna, all of them were Ajanubahu. And then other things are oceanography, astronomy, and these are all the sciences. Why I am talking about these in the Ramayana presentation, that will come later again. Okay, now this is a kind of surprise perhaps for many. These are the actual dates of Ramayana. Because we talk about Ramayana, when did Ramayana happen? A million years ago, the British and the European historians put it 1500 BC. So that's very recent. But these are one set of dates. So there are other Indian scholars who contend this date, they send it 26,000 BC. Some are saying 7,000 BC. But the approved or what everyone agrees is it lies between 7,000 BC to 16,000 BC. So this is the kind of Ramayana diary we can say, where we have all the dates. And how long did Ram live? It's 63 years because he had a very hectic and very stressful life if you look into the Ramayana details. And what important here is that when Sita was kidnapped, and when she she was taken to Lanka, they had already completed 12 years of Vanvas. So they were living in the forest for 12 years. Yeah. Yeah. Now this is one of my favorite memes because I've put those dates in there. But the first question you should arise is how the hell did we arrive to this timeline? So let's try to take a look at that. Next slide. This is from Castaway. If you have seen that movie, if you have not seen, please watch it. He gets stranded on an island, and then he's losing the track of time. So he kind of tries to measure how many days he has been on the island. But we are not stranded on the island, right? We need something for our daily calculations. So you can read that stuff. But what the Indians do, or if you look at the Panchang, they calculate the motion of sun, moon. These are moving objects, but you need to calculate it against some stationary object. That's the nakshatras. So we hear this about 27 nakshatras and all. So the movement of sun and moon in context of stationary objects like constellations is how we measure time. The Indians measure time. And this is just some glossary I put again. So Ram Navami we celebrate on Chaitra Shuddha Navami. So Chaitra is the month. Shuddha is because it's the Shukla Paksha, we can say. Shuddha or Shukla Paksha. Navami is a Tithi. So we often hear, especially in Maharashtra, Achi Tithi Kai. That means that's the lunar day we are talking about. And what is the Tithi? It is the 12 degrees angle between sun and the moon on the horizon. So when the sun or the moon goes 360 degrees, so if you divide it by 12, it is around 30 Tithis per month. So that we have 30 Tithis. Shukla Paksha, Krishna Paksha, 15 days each. And this last observation is very important, pole star. We all know about Dhruv Tara. If you go to Sodatele State and look towards north, you will still see it sometimes if the weather is clear. But the pole star is not constant. So it changes every 27,000 years. So there is not one star that is always the pole star. And currently, so as of 2024, it is Polaris. Okay. 14,000 years ago, pole star was Vega. Today it is Polaris, it was Vega, and there is all set of transitions written. This you can find on the NASA website as well if you want. This is very important. The second solution. The sea level was lower by 120 meters. So today what we have to travel by boat, and you also, if you remember the map of Europe 16,000 BC, you could easily walk. So you could practically walk from India to Sri Lanka. So we will come to that part as well later if I have some time. No, I'm going to steal time. Yes, shlokas. So there are 700 or 760 observations in Ramayana about what astronomical observations about the seasons and all. I have just taken two because we cannot scratch that in a presentation of 15 minutes. So the first one is about Lakshman is getting carried by Angad. They are heading for the war, and then Ram is a bit worried that will we win this war? Will I be able to get my wife back? We are marching on unknown territory. And Lakshman assures him that I see all good signs in the sky and on the horizon, so we will definitely win this war. So that's what the first shloka is about. And there he clearly mentions that the pole star is Abhijit, or the Vega, or Brahmarashi. That's how we say it, or Brahmarshi. So that was actually 16,000 years ago. There is no occurrence of Vega being the pole star in the history. It will be pole star maybe 20,000 years later, but not in the history. And then the second one is, it is a bit contended, but I still have a strong reason to believe it. Vindhya and Himalayas were visible from each other. So if you stand at Vindhyachal, you will be able to view Himalayas. But why that people find unbelievable is because we look at it from today's perspective. At that point in time, there were no skyscrapers. And Himalayas grow by 3 centimeters, 1 centimeter every year. So the height of Himalayas, Shivalik Hills was 120 meters low. So it was possible. Can we go to the next one? Last slide. Yeah, and then these are, okay, the red color is not matching. My presentation skills suck, I believe. So Ramayana or any Indian epic is not a fiction. That's the first myth, we are not able to read it. Second is, these we often hear. Ravan kidnapped Sita, but he treated her quite nicely. That's an absolute trap. He had given her a span of 1 year. If she does not submit, she was about to be executed. So when Hanuman visits, only 2 months were left for Sita's execution. And also she was not fed well, she had very soiled clothes to wear, she could not sleep her properly. So if she tried to sleep, the Rakshasis used to harass her. So it's a myth that he treated her properly. And he was under a curse. So he violated his own daughter-in-law, and then her husband cursed Ravana that if he ever forces himself on a woman, he will die immediately. That is why he did not force himself on Sita. So if anyone tells you that Ravan was a good person, okay, your choice what to do with that person. May Ram save us from motivational speakers and modern spiritual gurus. So sorry if I ruffle any feathers here, but Hanuman deliberately didn't rescue Sita. That is another myth that is propagated. He wanted to kill Ravan and carry Sita with him back so that the war would be avoided, because war claimed hundreds and thousands of Vanaras. He wanted to save them. But it was Sita who kind of disagreed with that. First, because she was too weak to make the journey, around 700 kilometers or something. And then she was also concerned that already her husband has lost face because she was kidnapped. Now if someone else rescues her, that will be a loss of face for him. And that's why she said, my husband should come for my rescue, I'm not living with you. So it's not that Hanuman did not want to rescue. Why I'm telling this, these motivational speakers, they concoct their own stories. What they say is, Hanuman could have done it easily, but since he was not on the orders, he was kind of following his manager and all such IT stuff they try to tell, but it's not the case. That is not historical fact. And the last one is, Vali was actually a nice person, he was a nice ruler. Ram killed him unrighteously, but that is how politics is. You imagine a person, 30-year-old, just with his brother, he wants to rescue his wife and he has to fight Rakshas's mighty army. What do you want him to do? Do you want him to find allies, or do you want to sit him and think about morals? So he gets Sugriev's help and then he fights the war. So there is nothing to be ashamed about. That's how politics works. Let's take the next one. And then we can read this one. The more important thing here is that he had been fighting battles since the age of 16 and had been living in forest for 14 years. So his life was quite harsh. And still he behaved righteously. So he's a hero. And before he died, he ensured that all his cousins and all his nephews all were having their own empires allocated so that they don't kill each other. So that's also something today's politicians cannot do. He achieved that 16,000 years ago. Yes. And these are some areas of research. Is Ramayana dated correctly? Like I said, scholars are at each other's throats. They are searching each other, but they have still not arrived at the exact dates. It lies between 16,000 to 6,000 BCE. Second one I have marked as red because what we believe is Lanka is Sri Lanka, the current Sri Lanka as a republic. That is kind of contended because if you look at the astronomical and other observations in Ramayana, Sri Lanka is not the current Lanka because it doesn't does not align with the Mahendra Parvat, and Hanuman had to flow 700 kilometers. Even today, Sri Lanka and India Park Strait is 25 kilometers. And the sea levels were 100 meters low. So we could practically walk to Sri Lanka. So it's not that Lanka. So it's an open question. How Vanaras and Rakshasas flew? Gliders. We missed a very important slide actually. But 764 kilometers is the world record for hanging gliders. That was achieved in 2012. So if you have a hanging glider and the wind supports you, you can easily fly for 1,000 kilometers without fatigue. Shipbuilding and navigation techniques, again we missed that in the slide. Indians were expert at this till 12th century or something, and this is written in Vasco da Gama's diary. It's not what I am saying. So Vasco da Gama is claimed for finding route to India. Just check out his diary, how did he reach India and how Indians helped him to reach. And then last part, Antarctica was ever inhabited by a small number of humans. That's because in Ramayana, Sugriv mentions that Yampuri or Yam or where Yam stays, that is in Antarctica, and they have found heat maps of rivers existing in Antarctica. Antarctica is a landmass, but they have found rivers beneath that, so we don't know if that was the case some years ago. Next slide. Now, since I'm taken the manager role anyways, this is the assignment you guys have to do, and you have to show me. Otherwise, I cancel your work permit. You should recite Ram Raksha, how it benefits. That's not topic for now. And please read the original Valmiki Ramayana. Please don't go for the interpretations and what people say about Ram, Hanuman and all. Just read the original works. That is much, much more accurate. Then obviously, like we said, please teach your kids from a logical perspective. Otherwise, they will not, after age of 10 or 12, they will start getting bored and then they will not respect our heritage. And of course, how Europe looked like 14 thousand years ago, because we are in a developed country and we are so much impressed with how Europe and these countries have advanced. But what was the state when they 14,000, 16,000, 27,000 BCE? How they were doing and how Indians were doing. And then these, if any one of you from Madhya Pradesh, you perhaps already know this, these are the two main observatories you can visit, which are one of the oldest stations where you can take astronomical measurements even without having a single telescope or anything. And this Dungla observatory is where the prime meridian crosses. So London still did when they got at the helm of their empire, so they took it to Greenwich. Earlier the prime meridian passed through India. That's how we calculated everything. And Hampi, of course, like I said, Kishkinda, it's nearby. Last slide. Okay. If you have any questions for me, I'm not sure I would be able to answer, but formality I'm asking. Okay, fine, I'm done. Thank you very much for your patience, and thank you, Dr. Reed and Spices for giving me this opportunity. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Omkar.